There's a lot of fun stuff to get to in this video. We're going to install the laser head and wrap up all the loose ends so we can start installing all the electrical components. So let's go. I'm trying to wrap up the last few stragglers so we can start the wiring. I was hoping to get my ZAxis motor underneath the top of this top panel for convenience, so there'll be less of a gap up here where I have the cables come through. But it turns out, you know, where the laser head's gonna fit and extends down, you know, I need it to be in the optimal range for my cutting area here. And it looks like I need to raise the whole X and Z axis up about 40 millimeters. So this beam and this beam, I'm gonna raise up a little bit. So it's gonna make the Z-axis motor poke through the top a little bit. It's not a huge deal because there was already gonna be a slot there for the cables and stuff, but anyways, I need to make that adjustment now before we start wiring. I got these two beams raised up, so everything's at the right height now. The next thing I want to address is this door. I was going to make this access door just this area, but I got to thinking, I want this front chuck homing position to be about right there so I can access these two screws to adjust the width. And I was thinking it's going to be a little difficult to go up to reach this top one. So I just want to take and make this door the full length. That way I can just reach right in the top here and adjust it. I think that'll be way easier. So let me cut a couple more extrusions and I'm going to extend this door up. There we go. I've got a full length door rebuilt. I think that's going to give me much better access to the top here. I'm ready to get this plywood panel cut out for the electrical cabinet. One last nice day of weather here, so I'm doing it today. I just got the notches cut out, so let's bring it inside and see if it fits. I need to cut a hole in it right here where this motor is going to protrude through. There was really no good way for me to do this. If I put the motor on the other side, it was going to mean making the whole frame wider just to accommodate that. I figured I'd just make a little slot here where it'll stick through a little bit and we'll do all the wiring around it. Got the hole marked down in this panel, so let's go see if we can cut it out. All right, we have a hole. Let's see how this fits. That looks like it's gonna work. I think I actually could have made it a little bit skinnier, but oh well, that's what it is. Well, the hardware store didn't have any galvanized steel sheets, so I'm gonna try to just reuse this one from my old machine. It might look a little bent up, so we'll see. If it looks horrible, then I'll drive further and try to get a new sheet. Just tracing it out here. All right, cool. Let me get that cut out. I have the plywood panel and the galvanized sheet metal cut to size. I wrapped a generous amount of aluminum tape around this hole, that way no edge will ever be exposed to any sparks. So I need to spray some contact adhesive on here. All right, let's try that. Let me let that get tacky for a second, and then we'll stick it down. All right, well, that's what it's gonna be. All right, well, that doesn't look too bad even though I reused it. There's a few small dents, but it'll be fine. Well, let's see how this is gonna look on the machine. I think that's gonna look fine. Let me get some angle brackets on here and I'll get it attached in place. I've got a bunch of angle brackets started here. I need to screw them into the plywood. That rear panel is now all attached and it looks good. I think what I would like to do is, because this X-axis motor is kind of fairly close to where all the cutting is going to be happening, I think I'll cut out like a sheet metal guard for it that'll wrap around that hole and protect it all from the sparks. I've been thinking about my order of operations. I want to start installing the components in the back here and doing the wiring, but first I really need to do something with this optical cable. There's a little gap above the laser source. I'm going to coil it up there tightly and then route it over the top, probably come out a hole right here, and then loop up and then come down to the laser head, which means I also need to install the laser head. And since the optical cable is going to come through the roof, that means I need to go ahead and cut out this acrylic panel for the roof and account for where the laser head and everything is going to come through here. That way I can cut the appropriate hole in the top. So that means, yeah, we need to get this acrylic panel cut also. All right, so there's several little things we need to wrap up here before we can start doing the back wiring. Some packages just arrived. I got to give a huge thanks to Skyfire for sponsoring some of the laser components for this project. So let's get these boxes open and see what they sent. So I mentioned Skyfire in most of my videos, but if you're new here, let me tell you about their company. Skyfire's sister company is EETO Laser, who manufactures large commercial laser cutting machines. Skyfire was formed to be able to focus on laser repair, retrofitting, and selling laser components. They're able to leverage EETO's buying power in order to offer very competitive pricing on their laser components. And they've really gone out of their way to cater towards the DIY audience by offering component checklists, blogs and videos, and component packages. I had the pleasure of visiting them in Wuhan about a month ago, and it was quite the experience. They've put together an incredible team of staff, and I felt like it was a family experience being there. I'll be sharing a couple videos about the trip as soon as I can finish editing the footage. But anyways, check out their website at ilariastore.com. Skyfire is offering a 5% discount if you use my code FROMTravis, and I also make a small commission on that purchase, which really helps out my channel. One other thing I think is worth mentioning, I try to stay out of politics, but due to the recent US presidential election results, it seems likely that we might see some very large tariff increases for importing Chinese products in the near future. So if you're looking to build a laser machine, now might be the time to buy your components if you want to save some money. All right, cables. Another BM110 autofocus head. This one has the different nozzle for tube cutting machines. That looks awesome. And we'll see what's in here. Oh, it's a servo driver for the autofocus head. Cool. For the second box. Okay, looks like all the parts for their gas control system. In here it looks like the electronic regulator for the oxygen line, some hoses and fittings, and some valves. All right, cool. And the third box. All right, looks like everything for the controller. Let's see here. Awesome. Can't wait to get this hooked up. So here's the laser head. I'm going to be using a BM110 autofocus head again. And I got to give a huge thanks to Skyfire for sponsoring this laser head for the project. You can see it's a little bit different than the one on my flat sheet cutting machine. It's got an extended nozzle here. I believe this is called the 3D model. It's designed for tube cutting. Let's see if we can get this laser head mounted on here. It's kind of heavy. All right, that feels pretty good. It's all attached. Here you can see it a little better. I want to go ahead and get this amplifier installed on the laser head. That way I can account for its width in the X travel. All right, cool. Now that we have the laser head installed, I can take some measurements here of the width and the X travel and figure out the proper size slot here I need to allow all the cables to pass through so we can get the acrylic panel cut out. Before we do that, I'm going to take a quick detour and get the magnetic door latches installed and also laser cut out these catches. I've got some magnetic door catches here to install on the door panels. And 2 more for this door. Now we just need to laser cut the latches that the magnets are going to attach to. Got my material loaded. I've got the file set up. That was my first time cutting out 14 gauge steel in this machine. And I just kind of guessed on the settings. They cut out perfectly, except they look like garbage. So yeah, I need to definitely dial that in. But they're totally functional, so I'm going to use them for now because I'm out of material, so I can't really test anymore. So yeah, we'll have to revisit this later. All right, let's see if we can get these bent to 90 degrees. All right, nice. All right, cool. They're bent. Let's get them installed. Nice. Cool. It works. Let's do the back side. It grabs really well. That'll become more rigid once we get some acrylic on here. You can see I've marked out with some painter's tape here the hole size I think I'm going to leave on this acrylic panel. I think something like that's going to work. And I also need to have a hole over here for the optical cable to pass through. So let me get the file set up for that, and then we'll get it cut out of acrylic. Got my 1/4 inch sheet of acrylic in here. And I've already done a test cut to make sure it's going to cut through. I've got my file loaded. It looks pretty good. Let's see how it fits. Looks like we have a good fit. Let's get that attached. Got all my screws and T-nuts on here. Let's see if we can get it in place. That looks pretty good. Looks like we're gonna have good clearance for everything here. I took some measurements and came up with a little sketch for the motor cover, shield, whatever you want to call it. And I've drawn it out. And I've cut it out, so I just need to fold this up. And you can test and see how it's going to fit. So, I'm imagining something like this. Let's go take it over to the machine and see how that's going to fit. It's supposed to go somewhere right here and then slide up, but it's actually hitting a bracket back here. So yeah, that's why I'm making this paper template, so I can figure that out now. All right, so let me make a couple modifications and then we'll come back and try it again. There we go, now it slides all the way up in there. Okay, I think that's gonna work pretty nicely. Let's get this cut out of metal. Let's see if we can transfer this template. Oh yeah, I have a laser cutter. Got my file all set up. Got a piece of, I believe it's 24 gauge aluminum in here. So let's try cutting this out. Wow, that cut out incredibly fast. Okay, I cut that out with compressed air again. And yeah, there's like no burr on there. That looks really clean. Hey, awesome. Let's see if we can get this bent into shape. I don't know enough about bending yet to know what order I should be doing this in. So I'm just gonna start and try it. I think I'm gonna start with the long edges first. This doesn't have a lot of capacity anyway, so I might end up doing some of this by hand. All right. Let's try to bend the other side, I guess. All right, now it's where it's probably gonna start getting goofy. Yeah, maybe I messed this up. Maybe the right order is to go from the center out. Well, I can do this side, and then maybe I will just manually bend this with like a straight edge or something. It's really thin and it should bend pretty easy. All right, cool. Let's see if we can finish this up. I've clamped down a square aluminum tube right across the bend line, and it's also lined up right on the edge of my welding table. And I just found this little C channel of aluminum. I was going to try to put pressure on it, see if I can bend it all down at once. So let's just see if this works. I think it's going to work. This clamp's just slightly in the way. I got to scoot that over. Oh, all right. Well, there we go. That looks perfect. Okay. Well, looks all right. It's not quite as sharp as the one with my press brake, but pretty close. As long as it'll still fit. All right, let's try to do that again on this other side. Okay, let's see if we can bend this other side down. Okay. Starting to look like a thing. Looks like I need to manually bend that into position a little bit. That's not bad. Now we just need to bend this one down. This last bend, I'm not sure how to do it. Just got a little chunk of steel here. See if I can put enough pressure on it and just lift it up. All right, that's not bad. Let me go a little further. Okay, well, I have to say that looks like it turned out pretty well, considering I wasn't really sure what I was doing with the bending. Let's see if this will fit on the machine. Look at that, it's up in there. And it looks pretty good. I had to remove a couple corner brackets here so I could slide it up, but I can pop those back on now and then get it screwed into the back panel. Okay, nice. I feel better about that. Now we need a cover for the back hole, so I came up with this quick design in Fusion to be laser cut out of 1/8 inch MDF. Got our 2 pieces. Looks like it's gonna work. Let me, I think I'll wrap it in aluminum tape real quick in case any sparks ever get back there. Then we'll get these screwed down. Let's get these attached. I think the last thing now is to get the optical cable routed around. Because I have so little clearance between the top of the laser source and that bottom floor, I've used some painter's tape to try to wrap a really tight coil here, 2 layers thick, make it as clean as possible. So let's see if we can squeeze that up in there and make it fit. That actually worked better than I was expecting. So let's see if we can route this around to the laser head. Let's see if I left enough length here to get up to the laser head. Oh yeah, we have more than enough. So I'll probably attach it to this 2040 extrusion here and run it straight down. Let's go ahead and get the optical cable inserted into the laser head here. Then we can attach the rest of the cord. There we go. Forget which way it goes. All right, that's it. I think I probably need to either 3D print or laser cut some brackets or something to attach it to this 2040 extrusion. But for now, I think I'm just gonna tape it, hold it in place until I can get those made. I don't really need much of a loop here. The laser head's already almost as high as it'll go. It's only gonna move down maybe 100 millimeters at most. So that's probably plenty. I don't even think I'm gonna support it with anything since it's such a short run. So let me just go ahead and tape this in place, something like this. All right, I think that's pretty good for now. Let me come up with a design for some brackets for this. I've come up with a quick design in Fusion for a clamp that can be 3D printed. I've got these three 3D printed brackets here with some screws and drop-in T-nuts. Let's see if we can use them to secure the optical cable and get rid of this tape. All right, that looks like it's gonna do the trick. I think that's gonna work well. The optical cable's all tucked under there nicely and routed up the 2040 extrusion. I think we can finally start mounting the electrical components back here and start doing the wiring. I feel good about our progress. I think next time we'll do some basic electrical and get the controller hooked up. Thank you to Skyfire for supporting all my laser projects. And also thank you to all my Patreon supporters for making these projects possible. Thank you guys.